At precisely 2:03 a.m., the sharp ring of the phone cut through the quiet of a high-rise conference room overlooking Chicago's skyline. Evelyn Grant sat poised behind the gleaming glass table on the 42nd floor of Summit Innovations headquarters. She was the company's global strategy lead, a seasoned negotiator with over 12 years of experience. Known for her calm under pressure and razor-sharp intellect, tonight, Evelyn was leading the final round of negotiations for a landmark billion-dollar international deal that could define her career. The atmosphere in the room had been electric earlier, filled with the low hum of whispered discussions and the bitter aroma of espresso. Evelyn had just wrapped up a crucial session with the German delegation, carefully walking them through each clause of the contract, ensuring every detail was flawless. As the team took a brief pause to let the legal experts double-check sensitive data usage rights, Evelyn slipped away to a quiet corner lounge with floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights shimmering like distant stars. Her phone lit up, displaying the name, Ethan Cole, CEO, her boss. The man who had once told her, "Evelyn, you're the one I trust above all to close this deal." She answered without hesitation, expecting guidance or final encouragement. Instead, there was silence, a pause heavy with tension. Then Ethan's voice came, cold and direct. "Evelyn, this is official. Your employment with Summit Innovations is terminated effective immediately." Her breath caught for a moment, but Evelyn did not flinch. The pulse that usually thrummed in her veins slowed, almost stopped. She stared out at the neon-lit cityscape, the words washing over her like a shockwave. Minutes later, she found her access to all project files revoked, locked out of the very documents she had helped build. Yet beneath the shock, a quiet certainty settled. This was not the end. It was the beginning of something else. And Evelyn Grant was just getting started. The cold voice on the phone lingered in Evelyn Grant's mind like a dark echo. "Your employment with Summit Innovations is terminated effective immediately." Those words, spoken without warning or explanation by Ethan Cole, the CEO she had trusted, slammed into her world like a freight train. Yet, she remained eerily calm, her breath steady, her hands unshaken. She closed her eyes briefly, letting the silence in the empty conference lounge fill the space. Around her, Chicago's night skyline sparkled with a million lights. But Evelyn felt an icy void swallowing her from within. She thought about the countless late nights, the strategic gambits, the painstaking contract reviews, all erased in a heartbeat. Her phone buzzed again, a notification on her laptop. The contract file she had been reviewing just minutes ago refreshed. A message blinked. Access revoked. Her name, once stamped on every page, now disappeared like smoke. Every folder, every email thread related to the billion-dollar deal had been wiped clean, locked away from her like secrets in a fortress. Walking back to the conference room, Evelyn's footsteps were steady but her mind raced. The German delegation chatted casually, unaware of the seismic shift beneath the polished surface. Evelyn smiled faintly, closing her laptop with the poise of a woman who knew the game was just beginning. She didn't reveal her firing. She didn't crack. Instead, she nodded and suggested a brief break, buying herself time. Because what Ethan and Summit Innovations didn't realize was that they had only cut her out of the story they wanted to write, but she was already rewriting the narrative. The elevator ride down to her suite was slow and deliberate. Evelyn's mind replayed the moments leading up to this night, especially a dinner 3 weeks earlier in San Francisco, a lavish gala celebrating the early progress of the deal. Ethan had toasted her publicly, calling her irreplaceable, praising her as the linchpin of the entire negotiation. The applause had warmed her, made her believe in the unbreakable trust she thought they shared. But then, her younger brother Noah, working as a waiter at the gala, had whispered a chilling secret. Behind the scenes, Ethan and the CFO, Riley Marks, were plotting her quiet replacement. They said she'll never see it coming, Noah had muttered, pale and shaken. Evelyn had laughed it off then. Now, she understood the cruelty of that rehearsed praise. It had been a weaponized lie, a velvet trap. Back in her suite, she sat at her desk, staring at the broken shards of the ceramic mug, once a gift celebrating her excellence at Summit Innovations. She had smashed it in frustration moments ago, the sound loud in the quiet room. But frustration was only the surface. Beneath it simmered cold determination. Her fingers danced over the keyboard, probing deeper into Summit's internal systems through a backdoor only senior strategists knew. And there it was, a hidden legal entity she had quietly created months earlier, Nexusol Holdings AG. A Swiss-based intermediary company designed as a failsafe during complex international negotiations. Nexusol was her insurance policy. She had registered it in Zurich, with clean legal papers, a separate bank account, and most importantly, herself listed as CEO. A ghost company operating in the shadows of the deal, holding the keys to the data infrastructure, contract transitions, and system access controls. Evelyn leaned back and let the truth settle. While Summit thought they had erased her, they had handed control to a company she controlled, one they never noticed. The next morning, Evelyn coordinated with Ava Langford, her trusted ally and deputy director of legal affairs at Summit, who had quietly resisted the CEO's overreach. Through encrypted channels, Ava confirmed Evelyn's suspicions. Forged signatures, unauthorized contract edits, and system overrides had been traced back to Ethan's inner circle. The digital fingerprints were undeniable. Ava's message was clear: they tried to cut you out surgically, but you still hold the scalpel. Evelyn's phone lit up with a secure call from Jonas Feld, a former lead architect of the Nexus infrastructure. They attempted a full system override last night from the Frankfurt data center, but your biometric lockout held strong. Evelyn smiled, calm and unbroken. The system she had architected months ago required retina and facial recognition from her personally for any override. Without her, they were locked out. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming power. Over the next several hours, Evelyn compiled the proof: internal logs, timestamps, forged documents, and chain of command violations. She consolidated everything into a secure folder labeled ECHOVA01. Then, using Nexusol's independent identity, she contacted Helvetic Solutions board liaison, Adrian Keller, in Switzerland. She laid out the truth calmly but firmly. The CEO of Summit Innovations had lied, manipulated, and tried to replace her mid-negotiation. The deal's legal counterparty should not be Summit but Nexusol, her company. Adrian listened carefully, then confirmed the board's growing unease over the sudden leadership changes and lack of transparency. He warned Evelyn that the board meeting to finalize signatures was imminent, Monday at 8:30 a.m. sharp. She had until then to secure her position. Meanwhile, Summit scrambled. Rumors leaked to the press. An anonymous article accused Evelyn of contractual violations and security mishandling. A desperate attempt to tarnish her reputation. But Evelyn didn't respond. She remembered a note she had scribbled months ago: never react in the moment. Let silence be your sharpest tool. Instead, she let the truth surface on its own. Internal allies leaked her technical contributions anonymously. The industry buzzed with admiration for her brilliance, while Summit's credibility crumbled. By Sunday night, Evelyn signed the final agreement as CEO of Nexusol, granting Helvetic exclusive control over the technology and data infrastructure crucial to the deal. Summit was locked out legally and digitally. The deal was hers. When news broke Monday morning, the business world was stunned. Summit Innovations stock plummeted. CEO Ethan Cole was suspended pending investigations, and Evelyn, operating quietly behind Nexusol, became the unseen architect of a corporate upheaval. At last, Evelyn Grant stood not as a discarded employee, but as a master strategist who had turned betrayal into triumph through silence, precision, and unyielding control. The morning light seeped softly through the tall windows of Evelyn Grant's Zurich suite, casting long shadows across her desk cluttered with encrypted files and hastily scribbled notes. The city was awakening, unaware that beneath its calm surface, a corporate war was quietly raging, one that could reshape an entire industry. Evelyn sipped her untouched tea, her mind racing through every possible scenario. The sudden and ruthless termination by Summit Innovations CEO Ethan Cole had been only the beginning. The unexpected event now was far more insidious. A coordinated attempt not only to erase her presence but to undermine her credibility and obliterate her legacy. The anonymous email from Elena Chambers at Tech Pulsewire had arrived the night before. It was a clear signal that Summit's internal crisis had spilled into the public domain. The email alleged contractual violations and mishandling of confidential systems. Accusations designed to paint Evelyn as reckless and untrustworthy. It was a play for the court of public opinion. A desperate move to control the narrative before the full truth emerged. Evelyn stared at the screen, fingers poised over the keyboard. But instead of crafting a defensive response, she closed her laptop. She knew better. Reacting too quickly would only fuel the fire. She remembered her mantra: never react in the moment. Let silence be your sharpest tool. Her silence, however, was not inaction. Across the Atlantic, Ava Langford was already mobilizing legal and technical teams within Summit Innovations. Through secure channels, she relayed detailed forensic reports uncovering the forged signatures and unauthorized system overrides that bore Ethan's fingerprints. Ava's loyalty was not to the CEO but to the truth, and to Evelyn. Meanwhile, Eli Mendoza, a sharp compliance analyst who had quietly admired Evelyn's integrity from afar, worked through the night to extract a clean audit trail of every contract edit related to the Swiss deal. His efforts revealed a disturbing pattern. Key files had been manipulated during the early hours of the morning on the day Evelyn was fired. The timing was no accident, it was a surgical strike. Evelyn compiled the evidence, creating a digital fortress of truth. The forged, executive signature delegation temporary override document, the backdated contract revisions, the IP logs showing access attempts from Ethan's assistant's terminal, all pointed to a meticulously planned coup within Summit's highest ranks. But the real twist came from an unexpected source. Jonas Feld, the former lead architect on the Nexus infrastructure project, reached out through an encrypted video call. His weathered face appeared on the screen, illuminated by the glow of his desk lamp in Lisbon. They're trying to regain control, Jonas warned, voice low. There was an override attempt last night from their Frankfurt data center. But the biometric lock held. Without your retinal scan and facial ID, they're locked out. Evelyn nodded, a slow smile spreading across her face. The system she had built was not just a technical marvel, it was her safeguard. Even if Summit controlled the hardware, they couldn't access it without her. Jonas continued, they're panicking. They don't understand they're playing with a ghost in the machine. While Summit's executives scrambled, Evelyn was already several steps ahead. Using Nexusol's independent identity, she had reached out directly to Helvetic Solutions board liaison, Adrian Keller. She presented the irrefutable proof of Ethan's unauthorized actions and her legal claim as CEO of Nexusol, the rightful counterparty in the deal. Adrian listened carefully, his voice measured but intrigued. The board had concerns over the sudden change in your involvement. He admitted, we assumed it was internal restructuring. But if your claims hold, this could destabilize the entire agreement. He reminded Evelyn that the board meeting was scheduled for Monday morning, where the final signatures would seal the deal's fate. In the meantime, Summit's attempts to salvage their position grew increasingly frantic. Rumors swirled within the industry. Leaks appeared on social media, and the media circus began to circle. Yet Evelyn maintained her calm. She refused to engage publicly or respond to defamatory attacks. Instead, she let the facts speak through her allies and the undeniable digital evidence she had compiled. Back in Zurich, Ava and Eli worked tirelessly to coordinate a silent counterattack. Ava drafted legal motions to challenge the forged documents and unauthorized contract revisions. Eli monitored Summit's system access logs, ready to alert Evelyn to any further attempts to undermine Nexusol's control. The tension reached a crescendo late Sunday night. Evelyn received a secure message from Ava. Internal audit has flagged a system failure on the Nexus platform. The board is furious. Ethan is spinning a narrative about unfinished code and delayed transitions. But the truth is leaking. Then came the headline that shook the industry. Summit Innovations loses billion-dollar deal to unknown entity Nexusol AG. CEO Ethan Cole suspended amid internal investigation. Evelyn's phone buzzed with messages of support from unexpected quarters, industry leaders, former colleagues, and even clients who had admired her relentless professionalism. The narrative was shifting, but Evelyn knew better than to celebrate prematurely. The battle was far from over. Summit's PR machine launched a final, desperate attempt to discredit her. Tech Pulsewire published an anonymous exposé alleging misconduct. Evelyn's name was dragged through the mud. Yet in the shadows, the true story was emerging. Ava leaked a confidential summary of Evelyn's role in designing the Nexus infrastructure, highlighting the robust security protocols and her foresight in safeguarding the deal's technology. Industry insiders whispered about the ghost in the machine, who had outmaneuvered corporate politics with silent precision. Eli sent a private message. Your name's trending, not as a scandal, but as a legend. Evelyn allowed herself a brief, rare smile. She was no longer just a negotiator or strategist. She was a force of nature, shaping outcomes from behind the scenes. unshaken by betrayal and unfazed by public attack. The final move came Monday morning at 6:01 a.m. when Evelyn signed the Helvetic Nexusol Strategic Infrastructure Agreement on her secure laptop. The document included a critical clause cementing Nexusol's exclusive control over the technology and data infrastructure essential to the deal, effectively sidelining Summit Innovations. As the city stirred awake, the business world watched in stunned silence. Summit's stock plummeted, Ethan's position became untenable, and Evelyn, quiet, composed, and resolute, had rewritten the rules of engagement. The unexpected event that threatened to break her had instead revealed Evelyn's true strength. She was no longer a pawn in a corporate game but the master of her own destiny, wielding power through quiet strategy and unyielding resolve. The aftermath of the corporate upheaval left Evelyn Grant standing in a strange new world, a place where everything she thought she knew had been torn apart, yet where unexpected clarity began to emerge. The betrayal she had endured was not just a rupture of trust, it was a catalyst for transformation, forcing her to see the game she was playing in a completely different light. As the sun rose over Zurich, Evelyn sat alone in her suite, her eyes fixed on the soft amber glow spilling across the river. The city's ancient bridges and flowing waters reminded her of the delicate balance of power, fluid, sometimes hidden beneath the surface, but always moving. She realized that she had been navigating this flow for years, but now she was learning to command it. Her initial shock and disbelief had given way to a profound understanding. Control was never about holding tight to titles or official positions. It was about owning the narrative, shaping outcomes, and mastering the unseen currents beneath corporate facades. She had been cast out of Summit Innovations. Yes, but the real story wasn't about loss, it was about reclaiming authority on her own terms. Evelyn reflected on the carefully orchestrated moves made by Ethan Cole and the Summit board, the forged signatures, the sudden termination, the digital erasure. Their precision had been surgical, but it had blinded them to one crucial fact: the strength of a well-laid foundation built quietly over time. Nexusol Holdings AG, the ghost company she had founded months earlier, was not just a legal entity. It was a manifestation of foresight, resilience, and strategic patience. By embedding Nexusol deeply into the infrastructure of the Swiss deal, Evelyn had created a failsafe that no boardroom coup could dismantle. She thought back to the late nights in Berlin with Jonas Feld and the development team, building the Nexus environment, a hybrid cloud platform with biometric locks, multi-layered audit trails, and autonomous control protocols. That system was her fortress. While others focused on surface-level negotiations and flashy boardroom theatrics, she had been quietly crafting a bastion of power no one could seize without her consent. This shift in perspective gave Evelyn a new kind of confidence, one rooted not in ego or anger, but in clarity and purpose. She was no longer a victim of betrayal but an architect of her own destiny. The industry's reaction mirrored this change. News outlets and business analysts began to dissect the events from a fresh angle. No longer was Evelyn portrayed as the ousted executive embroiled in scandal. Instead, she was emerging as a visionary strategist who outmaneuvered corporate politics with intellect and grace. Evelyn's network expanded rapidly. Former colleagues who had admired her silently reached out with offers of support. Clients who once trusted her as an individual now saw her as a symbol of integrity and strategic mastery. Her role as CEO of Nexusol was not just a title, it was a testament to resilience. Yet Evelyn remained grounded. She knew the path ahead would be complex, filled with legal battles, media scrutiny, and ongoing power plays. But she also knew she held the cards, the leverage born from meticulous preparation, trusted alliances, and unshakable resolve. Her conversations with Ava Langford deepened this understanding. Ava, whose loyalty was forged in truth rather than blind allegiance, reminded Evelyn that the battle was far from over. They're going to try every trick to undermine Nexusol's position, Ava warned, but you've built something they can't touch. Eli Mendoza's tireless compliance work further reinforced Evelyn's advantage. His clean audit trails and detailed reports provided the ammunition needed to counter Summit's attempts to discredit her. The evidence was undeniable, and with every new revelation, Summit's credibility eroded further. Evelyn embraced this new role not as a lone fighter, but as a leader of a quiet revolution. She coordinated closely with Helvetic Solutions, ensuring the smooth transition of control and maintaining transparency with their board. Her approach was measured, strategic, and deliberate, eschewing dramatic public statements in favor of quiet influence. The internal review at Summit Innovations intensified. Ethan Cole's suspension evolved into a formal investigation, with mounting evidence pointing to violations of corporate governance and abuse of power. The board faced pressure from shareholders, regulators, and the industry at large. Through it all, Evelyn maintained her composure. She refused to be drawn into public drama or reactive hostility. Instead, she focused on building Nexusol's reputation as a trustworthy, innovative, and forward-thinking entity, one that embodied the future of secure, ethical international partnerships. The change in perspective that Evelyn experienced was profound. Where once she had measured success by titles and corporate status, she now valued autonomy, integrity, and strategic foresight. She saw power not as a trophy to be claimed, but as a tool to be wielded with precision and patience. One evening, as she prepared for a private board meeting with Helvetic Solutions, Evelyn reflected on her journey. The betrayal she had suffered was painful, but it had forced her to evolve, to see beyond immediate setbacks and envision a broader horizon. The silence she had embraced was not emptiness but strength. The storm she had weathered was not a defeat but a prelude to victory. Evelyn's story was no longer just about a corporate deal. It was about transformation, about rising from the ashes of betrayal to forge a new path defined by resilience, intelligence, and quiet power. She was no longer just Evelyn Grant, the fired executive. She was Evelyn Grant, the architect of her own legacy, the guardian of Nexusol, and the embodiment of a new kind of leadership, one where control is not given but earned through vision, integrity, and unwavering resolve. As she looked out over Zurich's quiet river, Evelyn felt a sense of peace. The battle was far from over, but she was ready, more than ready. She was empowered. The storm of betrayal and upheaval that had rocked Evelyn Grant's world began to settle, revealing a landscape ripe with new possibilities. What others saw as an end was for Evelyn the opening of a door, one she had carefully prepared months in advance, and was now ready to walk through with unwavering confidence. Nexusol Holdings AG, the shadow company she had founded quietly in Zurich, was no longer just a fallback plan. It was the foundation for a new beginning, an entity with the legal authority, technical infrastructure, and strategic vision to control the core of the multi-billion-dollar Swiss deal and beyond. Evelyn's first step was to solidify Nexusol's position with Helvetic Solutions, the Swiss conglomerate and key partner in the deal. Unlike Summit Innovations, whose leadership was mired in scandal and internal chaos, Nexusol represented stability, foresight, and integrity. She scheduled a private video conference with Adrian Keller, Helvetic's senior infrastructure architect and a man known for his rigorous standards and uncompromising integrity. Ms. Grant, Adrian began, his tone cautious but respectful. The board has been closely monitoring recent developments. Your leadership and the evidence you provided have convinced many here that Nexusol is the rightful counterparty for this phase of the project. However, there remain questions about long-term governance and integration. Evelyn nodded. I understand. That's why I propose we formalize a governance framework that ensures transparency, shared oversight, and clearly defined roles. Nexusol is committed not just to the contract, but to the partnership's integrity. Adrian's expression softened. That is precisely what the board wants to hear. Stability and trust are paramount. From that conversation, a roadmap was drawn, one that positioned Nexusol not as a hidden intermediary, but as a transparent, accountable partner with full legal recognition. Evelyn knew this was essential. The company's future depended on legitimacy, not shadows. Meanwhile, back in the United States, Summit Innovations struggled to regain footing. Ethan Cole's suspension had evolved into a formal investigation amid shareholder unrest and regulatory scrutiny. The once untouchable CEO was now a liability. Evelyn's legal team, led by Ava Langford, prepared meticulously to defend Nexusol's position. Every forged document, unauthorized contract revision, and system override was catalogued and presented with irrefutable clarity. The tide was turning decisively in Evelyn's favor. Yet beyond legal battles and corporate intrigue, Evelyn saw a larger opportunity to reshape how international tech partnerships were structured, safer, smarter, and more resilient against internal power plays. She began assembling a team of trusted experts, former colleagues, legal minds, cybersecurity specialists, to build a next-generation framework for cross-border deals. Their mission was clear: create systems with airtight security, transparent governance, and adaptive technology that no single player could hijack. Jonas Feld, the system architect, was pivotal. We'll design the platform so that no executive, no matter how high-ranking, can unilaterally alter critical controls without consensus and biometric verification, he explained during a virtual planning session. Evelyn listened intently. This was not just about defending what she had lost, it was about building something stronger, something future-proof. Her vision extended beyond the Swiss deal. Nexusol could become a model for how complex, multinational technology agreements were negotiated and managed, ensuring fairness, accountability, and trust. To that end, Evelyn reached out to industry leaders, regulators, and potential partners, sharing her blueprint for ethical, resilient collaboration. She spoke at private forums and strategic summits, not as a disgraced executive, but as a visionary leader charting a new course. Her message was clear. In an era of rapid technological change and geopolitical uncertainty, success belonged to those who combined strategic foresight with unshakable integrity. Her efforts did not go unnoticed. Invitations arrived to join advisory boards and think tanks focused on corporate governance and digital security. Nexusol's reputation grew as a beacon of reliability in a turbulent industry. Financial backers who had once hesitated began to invest, recognizing the untapped potential in Evelyn's approach. The company's valuation rose steadily, fueled not just by contracts, but by trust. Amid these successes, Evelyn maintained a grounded focus. She continued working closely with Helvetic Solutions, ensuring a smooth transition of all technical assets and operational control. Her team meticulously oversaw system audits, compliance checks, and integration milestones. Each achievement reinforced a crucial truth Evelyn had learned. Power was not about loud declarations or flashy moves. It was about quiet competence, strategic patience, and building trust over time. Even as summit innovations floundered, Nexusol's steady ascent sent a powerful message to the industry. The future belonged to those who prepared silently, acted decisively, and never lost sight of integrity. One evening, after a long day of meetings and strategy sessions, Evelyn stood on the balcony of her Zurich office. The city lights twinkled below, the river flowing steadily through the heart of the old town. She thought about how far she had come, from a loyal executive blindsided by betrayal to the leader of a rising force reshaping an industry. She smiled softly. The fight was far from over, but the horizon was bright. The opportunity she had seized was not just about reclaiming her career, it was about redefining leadership, partnership, and power in a complex, interconnected world. Evelyn Grant was no longer just surviving. She was thriving, on her own terms. Evelyn Grant's journey had transformed her in ways she never anticipated. The sharp, precise strategist who once thrived in the controlled chaos of corporate negotiations had evolved into something more profound, a visionary leader with the wisdom to see beyond immediate battles and the strength to shape a lasting legacy. In the weeks following Nexusol's official recognition as the legal counterparty in the Swiss deal, Evelyn found herself navigating new challenges, ones that tested not just her intellect, but her character. The pressure was immense. The media spotlight sharpened. Industry watchers scrutinized every move Nexusol made, eager to see if the quiet power she wielded could sustain itself amid growing expectations. Summit Innovations was not done yet. Their attempts to undermine Nexusol's position continued, accompanied by legal maneuvers and public relations campaigns. But Evelyn was different now. The fear and frustration that had once threatened to overwhelm her had been replaced by clarity and calm. She no longer defined herself by the betrayal she'd endured, but by the resilience and integrity she had cultivated in response. Her growth was not just personal, it was visible in every decision she made, every interaction she had with her team, her partners, and the industry at large. One afternoon, during a strategic meeting with Nexusol's core leadership team, Evelyn shared her vision for the company's future. "We're not just here to win deals," she said firmly, her eyes bright with conviction. "We're here to change how business is done, through transparency, ethical governance, and technological innovation that protects trust." Her words resonated deeply. The team, a diverse group of experts from law, cybersecurity, and international business, rallied behind her. They understood that Nexusol was more than a company, it was a movement. Evelyn also embraced mentorship, recognizing the importance of lifting others as she climbed. She began hosting regular virtual workshops for young professionals, especially women in technology and law, sharing her experiences and encouraging them to pursue leadership roles with confidence and integrity. Her journey from betrayal to empowerment became a powerful narrative, inspiring many who had faced setbacks or discrimination in male-dominated industries. Yet, Evelyn remained humble. She credited much of her growth to the support of trusted allies like Ava Langford and Eli Mendoza, whose unwavering loyalty and expertise had been instrumental in turning the tide. She also maintained a quiet discipline, dedicating early mornings to reflection and study. Meditation and journaling became daily rituals that helped her center herself amid the whirlwind of responsibilities. One pivotal moment in Evelyn's growth came during a high-stakes negotiation with a new European partner interested in adopting Nexusol's model for cross-border data governance. The discussion was intense, filled with complex legal and technical issues, but Evelyn approached it not as a battle to be won, but as a collaborative problem-solving exercise. Her ability to listen deeply, empathize with concerns, and offer thoughtful solutions impressed the partners. They saw in her not just a negotiator, but a visionary capable of building lasting bridges across cultures and industries. Outside the boardroom, Evelyn also confronted the lingering emotional scars from her betrayal. Therapy and personal coaching helped her process the pain and release lingering doubts about trust and loyalty. She realized that true strength was not the absence of vulnerability, but the courage to face it and grow through it. Her relationship with her brother Noah deepened as well. Once a quiet witness to the corporate intrigue, Noah became a source of grounded support, reminding Evelyn of the importance of family and balance beyond work. As months passed, Evelyn's reputation blossomed beyond the confines of Nexusol. Invitations came to speak at global forums on corporate ethics, digital security, and female leadership. Her story was featured in prestigious business magazines, highlighting her as a trailblazer who redefined resilience and power. Despite the accolades, Evelyn remained focused on the work ahead. She spearheaded the development of Nexusol's next-generation platform, one that integrated artificial intelligence, blockchain security, and decentralized governance. Her vision was clear: create an ecosystem where trust was built into the very fabric of technology, reducing the risk of manipulation and betrayal that had once nearly destroyed her. Evelyn's growth was also reflected in how she managed crises. When unexpected challenges arose, whether technical glitches, legal hurdles, or market shifts, she responded with measured calm, rallying her team to adapt and innovate rather than react with panic. Her leadership style was collaborative yet decisive, balancing humility with unwavering resolve. Looking back, Evelyn understood that her character growth was inseparable from the trials she had endured. The betrayal, the loss, and the fight to reclaim her power had forged her into a leader of uncommon depth and vision. She no longer feared change or uncertainty. Instead, she embraced them as catalysts for innovation and personal evolution. Evelyn Grant's story was no longer just about survival, it was about transformation, empowerment, and the relentless pursuit of a future defined not by circumstance, but by choice. The journey Evelyn Grant had embarked on was far from a simple corporate battle. It was a testament to the power of resilience, quiet determination, and strategic brilliance. From the moment the cold words of termination echoed in her ears to the groundbreaking moment when she signed the contract as CEO of Nexusol Holdings AG, Evelyn's story became a beacon of hope for anyone who has ever faced betrayal and loss. Sitting in the minimalist conference room of Nexusol's Zurich office, Evelyn reflected on how far she had come. The same city that once witnessed her darkest hour now stood as a symbol of her renaissance. The soft hum of the morning city below was a gentle reminder: life moves forward, no matter the obstacles. Evelyn's victory was not the result of loud confrontations or dramatic battles. It was the product of meticulous planning, unyielding composure, and an unwavering belief in her own value. She had chosen silence when others expected fury, patience when others demanded immediate reaction, strategy when others resorted to chaos. Her leadership had redefined power, not as something to be seized through force or fear, but as a tool to be wielded with grace and intelligence. The final board meeting with Helvetic Solutions was a defining moment. The Swiss conglomerate's leadership praised Evelyn for her integrity, foresight, and the seamless transition that safeguarded their interests. They recognized that Nexusol was not merely a legal entity but a guardian of the partnership's future. Adrian Keller, the board liaison who had once approached her with cautious skepticism, now regarded her with deep respect. Ms. Grant, he said during the closing remarks. You have shown us that leadership is as much about character as it is about capability. Your journey inspires confidence that Nexusol is the right steward for this vital partnership. Evelyn's response was humble yet resolute. Thank you, Adrian. This journey has taught me that true strength comes not from avoiding hardship, but from embracing it and using it as a foundation for growth. Nexusol stands committed to transparency, innovation, and collaboration, not just in words, but in every action. Her words resonated deeply with the assembled leaders. They understood that the future of their partnership rested on more than contracts and technology. It required trust, accountability, and shared vision. Outside the boardroom, news of Nexusol's triumph spread like wildfire. Business publications hailed Evelyn as a silent strategist and a master of modern corporate resilience. Articles chronicled how she turned betrayal into an opportunity, rewriting the rules of engagement in the high-stakes world of international business. Yet Evelyn remained grounded. She knew the real work was just beginning. She continued to foster a culture at Nexusol that prioritized ethical leadership, innovative thinking, and respect for every team member's voice. She championed diversity and inclusion initiatives, determined to create spaces where underrepresented voices could rise and lead. Her mentorship programs flourished, nurturing a new generation of leaders equipped to navigate the complex intersections of technology, law, and global business. Evelyn's story also became a source of inspiration beyond the corporate sphere. In keynote speeches and panel discussions, she shared candid insights about vulnerability, perseverance, and the power of strategic silence. Her message was clear. Setbacks are inevitable, but how we respond defines who we become. Reflecting on her journey, Evelyn recognized that the most profound victory was not the legal triumph or the corporate takeover, it was the transformation of her own self-belief. She had learned to trust her instincts, to value her voice, and to wield her power with intention and grace. Her story resonated with countless individuals facing their own struggles, whether in boardrooms, small businesses, or personal lives, reminding them that resilience is a quiet strength, and success often comes to those who prepare patiently and act deliberately. As Evelyn stood by the window of her office one evening, the Zurich skyline glowing under the twilight, she felt a deep sense of peace. The battles fought and won were chapters in a larger narrative, one of growth, empowerment, and unwavering commitment to integrity. She whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning." Because Evelyn Grant knew that true leadership was not a destination, but a lifelong journey, a journey she was ready to continue with courage, wisdom, and grace. Evelyn Grant's journey teaches us a profound lesson. True strength often lies in silence, patience, and strategic resilience. When faced with betrayal and loss, the natural impulse is to react with anger or despair. But Evelyn's story reveals that the most powerful response is to pause, assess, and act with quiet determination. Her experience underscores that control is not about loud declarations or visible power plays, it's about owning your narrative, preparing your foundation, and moving with precision when the moment calls for it. Even when erased from the spotlight, a well-prepared mind and unshakable integrity can carve new paths and reclaim authority. Above all, Evelyn's story reminds us that setbacks are not the end but opportunities to evolve. By embracing vulnerability and transforming it into resilience, anyone can rise stronger, rewriting their story on their own terms. When life or work blindsides you with unexpected setbacks, whether a job loss, a betrayal, or a major challenge, take a moment to breathe and reflect. Resist the urge to react impulsively. Instead, focus on what you can control, your response, your mindset, and your next steps. Build your own Nexusol, a foundation of skills, knowledge, and networks that no one can take away. Quietly prepare backup plans, nurture trusted allies, and keep learning. Remember, power is not just about position, but about the ability to adapt and innovate. When the time is right, step forward with confidence and clarity. Your silent strength will be your greatest asset, allowing you to turn adversity into opportunity and reclaim your path with grace. Thank you for choosing to listen to this story among thousands of stories out there. Like and subscribe to continue listening to the latest stories.